Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Batman number 96. In this comic book, excellent. I love this cover. The perspective, that Dutch angle, really adds to the dynamicness of this. And this is part two of the Joker War. Now, even though I like this cover, it throws me when people put the text. I know they used to do that back in kind of the Silver Age and whatnot, but I feel like it really takes away from just the art. You know what I mean? And they said, I always said you had the best toys. I know that's a reference to the 89 Batman movie, but I just kind of feel like that sort of kills it. Because I love the movies, but they just get referenced so often that you're just kind of like, okay, whatever, let's move on. But nonetheless, beautiful cover. And the people responsible for this book is James Tynion IV writing, Jorge Jimenez doing the art and the inks, colors is Tuomo More, and the letter is Clayton Kells. Now, last issue, remember that Batman was being poisoned by Punchline, and it was like a new strain of Joker venom, and I think it was mixed with fear toxin. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me know down in the comments below. But just look at the tone change here, and kind of pay attention to that. It says Gotham City, years from now. And what I like is, okay, we kind of see that Gotham kind of became what Batman wanted it to be, his little Gotham, because he wanted to give himself more to the city after Alfred passed away from that meaningless death back in the old run that we're not going to talk about. Anyway, what I like is, you see this kid walking, ding, huh? Please step back. Whoa, I just got a bat signal. But that means, and before we even see Batman, we just see this blur, and the kid's just like, oh yeah, it's Batman. So that's a really cool design. And again, dynamic panel, no flat angles, very, very beautiful. And I love how even they get a little bit of the blur, the depth of field here, where you kind of see everything here going into the panel, going into focus. And even here, Batman kind of has a little bit of his grin on his face, even though he's getting ready to take on Mr. Freeze. And apparently he has heirs here in this, in the future, whatever this is supposed to be, which is kind of a cool concept since Peter J. Tomasi introduced his wife finally coming back and being healed, but now she's Ms. Frost. So I'm kind of interested to see where they kind of take her character. But again, as I was just talking about with the beginning cover, we get that chill out bats, so immediately you start thinking Batman and Robin, where he's like, everybody chill! And I feel that kind of kills the pacing. But nonetheless, if you can look past that, the pacing's great, the action's great, and you start to see Batman use some of his new tech. Now, we see Alfred here in the future. And you're just kind of like, what's going on? Now, I don't want to give away the story behind that, but you do see Batman wake up. So it makes you wonder here, is that a vision? Is that foreshadowing? Is that something that's just going to get tossed away, never re-referenced? Or is that something bigger on the horizon? And I like that you get no answers. And to kind of back up a little bit here, where Harley goes, hey, you're not dead. That's good. I was betting with myself that you were probably dead. And he's like, Harley, Catwoman said you were hurt. Oh, I got a bunch of hurt. But I know people, Knifeline, or whatever her name is, tried to shut me up. But this mouth doesn't shut so easily. And so you actually see where Punchline slit Harley's throat. Now, what I like about what Tynion's doing is, even though I miss her old Harlequin outfit, here, the tone of how Harley's talking, it's in character, where she's a little silly, but she's using it in that macabre way, where she's like, I was making bets with myself that you were dead. No one but the original Harley. Not this holy kaplowy whack-a-mole zoli-wally, the whole Harley that started with her own standalone book in the New 52 that just really killed it. Here, battle damaged. A little off, femme fatale, Harley. And again, she makes a joke about her throat being slit. She goes, a little Frankenstein, I know. I figure I should lean in. Maybe make it a whole Halloween thing. Paint myself green. Now, the reason I told you to pay attention to how the panels looked at the beginning of this is look at the color juxtaposition between where we get the bright, hopeful colors. Now we're back into the dirge, just dark greens and reds. And Harley begins to explain how, with Joker taking all of his money, which is what Catwoman accidentally helped do with the broker, now he has Joker bikes, or Joker cycles, Joker planes, Joker mobiles. So this kind of reminds me of, I hate referencing the movies again, but Dark Knight Rises, when Bane takes over the R&D department there at Wayne Enterprises and all his goons are driving tumblers and stuff. So it's an interesting concept. And just look at how noirish this looks. The stakes, people in terror at these clowns, just free reign over the city. She's saying they're taking things into their own hands because the cops and the capes, they're not doing squat talking about citizens. So we see this woman here with her kids, and she's like, shh. You see the terror in her eyes. And of course, someone enters in the frame there, and I like how he's kind of in the back, shadow foreboding. But before he can do anything, if I could actually change the page here, it doesn't want to work with me. Get past the ad. We see a splotch. And I like that onomatopoeia. It just adds to the meat sound of the splotch. You know what I mean? So here we're introduced to what's called Clown Killer. And from what I understand, this is the first appearance of this character. And he's just like, okay, one down. Headshot. Nice, nice, nice. And she's like, son, are you okay? And I gotta get panel, and then kind of like this full panel of him just sitting there looking intimidating to a degree, because you can tell this is a kid, but I mean, you can tell that he's seen some stuff and he's just ready to go to town. And then Tinian just echoes it with the narrative saying, no, ma'am, I'm not even a little bit okay. But I'm going to see how I feel after I kill a bunch of these clowns. Cool way to introduce a character. Makes you want to know more. But that's all you get. Now, I don't want to go through a lot more of the book. Nonetheless, hold on, did I miss a panel? I did. I wanted to reference this. So, in the last issue, I was talking about the Joker going to the Monarch Theater and dusting off a celluloid can. Celluloid is film, for those of you that don't know. And it's the Mark of Zorro, or the Mask of Zorro, I forget. But nonetheless, that was the movie Bruce watched with his family the night they were killed in the Monarch Theater. Now, what I like about this panel is we see the Z sliced into his face, so we know that things are not okay. And just the bleak yellowness of the tone of the panels and how they increasingly get closer and closer. And you can actually see with the art team how they actually made it look like indents in his face. And then we cut back, and this kind of reminds me, a little trivia here for you folks. One of the first horror films, and you saw it from the killer's point of view, was called Peeping Tom. And I don't remember the year. I think it was back in the 60s. And it was a really interesting film. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But the way they flip to the Joker holding the camera and making him read this, that reminds me of Peeping Tom, which is just really cool. And it just adds to the suspense of this whole book. Now, Harley, because Batman's still hopped up on the serum from Punchline. She's just like, you're losing it again. You got to keep your head on straight if you're going to go crazy. Mr. J is going to kill you. Now, I jumped over everything that Bruce has a PTSD moment with. I don't want to give that away. But there is one thing that's really interesting, is after he quote-unquote loses it, you notice that he starts to talk to somebody on his cowl. Now, I don't really want to give away too much there, but it's heartbreaking. And then we see Batman enter the Monarch Theater. And this isn't a spoiler. This was kind of referenced last issue. So if you haven't read that, pause this, go check out that review. But he's like, God, the smell. He's like, it's death. It smells like death in here. And so what I want to leave off here, and just the intensity of that, that's just hard to look at. If you kind of go back and check out the other Batman reviews we've done leading up to this with the designer, remember how the designer had a certain kind of gas that he used. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, read the issues leading up to this, because this ends on a very interesting cliffhanger, and I like where it goes. So yeah, Batman number 96. A lot of great pacing. There are a couple of moments of exposition dumps, but that's okay. It kind of brings, as I've said, that every comic that you pick up, whether it's Batman number 1 from back in the day or this issue, it should be at least enough, like a new reader should at least kind of get the idea of what's been going on, so that way when they read this issue, they're like, oh yeah, I want to get the next issue, and I want to go back and get the other ones to see what led up to this story. So sometimes exposition dumps done in a good way that doesn't feel like everyone just sitting and talking really helps. So with that said, if you've enjoyed this book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like and subscribe. And if you won't mind sharing the video around, helps the club more than you can possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little Joker bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love to hear your feedback and just talk with y'all down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description below. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.